Hey, are you alright?
Yeah, I'll be fine. Thanks.
How'd you end up in that pod?
I was attacked in the highway. It happened so fast. They could still be nearby.
I checked. You were the only ship out there. We can head for the nearest station, but it'll take a while. This ship's not in the best shape.
If they come after me, then we're in trouble. Let me take a look.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, CaptainShack here, and welcome to TGN Test Run's X Rebirth. So, I've been hyping this game for a while now because I've been very excited for it. I'm a huge fan of space sims, and I'm a huge X fan. The X series, I've been playing it for almost a decade now, with X Beyond the Final Frontier. X Rebirth is finally out, and it's got some good points and some bad points. Now keep in mind, this is coming from an X series fan, an X series veteran. Now these games are complicated. They're supposed to be complicated. They are sandbox space sim games that are built with the idea of creating an empire, fighting, build, think, fight, explore. It's what these games are about. But X Rebirth has taken some odd direction. We'll just say odd direction is the best way I can put it. Now, this is a first impressions. This is not a review. I've only got about 3 hours logged into my current released version playthrough. Now, like I said, I had early access to this game, and I had what the developers called the beta build, and I didn't want that to color my perspective of the game, so I didn't play it all that much because it had some serious flaws. Sadly, those flaws have come over from the beta build that I was playing into the release, and they're not... they're bad. So, that's the best way I can put it. They're bad. The game's controls, it seems like it's been built for a controller. Just starting out. It looks beautiful, but the controls feel like they wanted to integrate controller support to the detriment of the rest of the game. You can play with a keyboard and mouse, and I highly recommend that's how you play it. With a controller, there is no roll functionality built into the controller. You can't actually roll your ship. You have to have auto roll turned on. You can rebind keys, but it just doesn't feel right. They have a crew system where you can get out of your ship and walk around. One of the features that we were really excited for, that we thought was going to eliminate the massive amounts of menus inside menus. Well, you still have to use menus to do the majority of the stuff you do with your crew. When you dock inside a ship, like let's say a capital ship that you own, and you want your captain to take on the role of captain of this capital ship, instead of walking over to the room inside the Albion Skunk, which is your only ship you'll be flying, at least in the first 3 hours of the game, and from what I can see, it's probably the only ship you will be flying throughout the game. Well, instead of being able to walk into your crew quarters or some place where you would talk to the people that you've hired and brought onto your ship, you have to go through them, you have to dock, get out of your cockpit, which is an animation, you don't actually walk out of your cockpit, and you go through a menu, and then you go through another menu, and then you contact the person and you tell them, hey, I want you to work on this ship. It plays a cutscene of them walking off your ship. Then that person who walked off your ship, say it's the captain, is not on the ship that you've told them to go on to. You actually have to leave the ship, dock back with the ship if you want to see them on it. I know that's really hard to explain, but that's just kind of how it works. Now, I would love to show you guys really interesting gameplay in this video, but to be honest, there hasn't been any. The game is very pretty, the graphic engine is fantastic, and that is one of the places this game excels at. They've upgraded the graphics engine from X, Albion Prelude, and Terran Conflict dramatically. Sadly, it's at the cost of gameplay. The frames per second seems to jump between 40-ish and 9. It's a big jump. But the choppy frame rate does affect your ability to dogfight, and it also makes walking around on stations awkward. So I am 3 hours into this, and I did play a bit of the beta version that they gave me, and I haven't seen a huge difference except for in some of the graphical departments, but 3 hours into the released build, and I'm still in the tutorial. I'm still learning how to play the game. And one of the big issues is your tutorial is actually given to you in little tiny bits of text that pop up at the top center of your screen. Now they're very easy to miss, especially if you're, have Google eyes at all the beautiful graphics, you will miss the very important things that it tells you in the center, and they won't come back. Things like the skull symbol means that these are kill missions, or these are actual missions where combat happens. I missed those the first time, spent too much money early in the tutorial. It didn't tell me how to make money other than that one blip, and I got completely lost. Now, as an ex-veteran, I'm actually okay with that. I'm used to not having a tutorial and being completely confused by the basic game concepts, because part of the X series is learning how to play. But it's kind of frustrating trying to do this tutorial that isn't actually a full-on tutorial. It's kind of a hacked-together tutorial that's very easy to miss important bits in. The person that sits next to you, your first officer, has a very flimsy story. She kind of just boards your ship and away you go. You're not quite sure who she is or what she's doing. It's a mystery that's supposed to be a storyline mystery. It's more kind of an annoyance because you don't really understand what's going on. Decisions the characters are making don't make a lot of sense. And they try to give you really bare bones background on what's going on really, really slowly. I wouldn't even say really fast, really, really slowly. It makes this living, breathing universe that you're seeing, that you're a part of, the background is so disconjointed. If you don't actually know anything about the X series, you're going to be very, very confused and not really give a damn about most of the factions. Okay, so part of the tutorial, and I know I'm not alone, you have to buy and sell energy cells. It's teaching you how to use the trade functionality of the game. And this is where, as an ex-veteran, you're gonna find the game has been simplified a bit, but not in a good way. You have to have your freighter because you, personally, can no longer buy and sell large, bulky items. You have to use a freighter to do so because the Albion Skunk, the one ship you will be piloting, can't actually hold much as a cargo. Actually, I'm not quite sure it can hold anything at all. That's still kind of unclear. But you have to use a freighter to buy this stuff and sell this stuff, and it's energy cells. So I have the mission, and I run over and I buy the items, and she says, well, this is going to take a while, and she wasn't joking. The freighters go really, really slow. So we're gonna go do a mission. Now they're teaching me how to do missions. Now, if you accidentally spent too much because you didn't understand part of the tutorial, like I did the first time I did it, I hired somebody I wasn't supposed to, I ran out of money and couldn't continue the tutorial. And I didn't know how to make money, so I was stuck. On my second try, I noticed a little blip that told me how to do a mission, so I was able to make money. And I noticed that I wasn't actually supposed to hire guy number whatever, X. It was I hired a engineer to repair my ship, and I wasn't supposed to hire him. I was supposed to use him to fix my ship, and that was it. But it was very confusing, the wording of the tutorial in those little quick blips that pop up. Anyways, getting back to the trading with the energy cells. I get this big freighter, and I buy the energy cells, and I go run off to do this mission because she tells me it's gonna take a while, and that we should do this mission as part of the tutorial. So we run over to do this mission. It's a timed mission to move some lady from point A to point B, fairly simple. We knock that out, we come back, and we're still waiting for the freighter to dock. And we're waiting. And we're waiting. And the freighter finally shows up and it docks and it sends its little drones out. Very cool. I love the universe. It makes it feel like it's alive, which is, it's definitely nice. It's much better than the rest of the games in that sense. A very populated universe. Well, we get the energy cells and we rush off to the next point to drop the energy cells off. I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of a bare bones trading tutorial. I kind of get it. Still not quite sure what all these menus mean because there's no real explanation. They just tell you how to open them, not what they do. Mind you, I've read the actual pamphlet they give you with this game, the manual for it, and it's a lot of information to take in, especially for somebody who's never played an X game before. We get to the point where we're supposed to sell the items. I give the order, all right, freighter, come on over here, sell these items. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And I know I'm not alone. I actually checked some of the forums and some of the review posts, and it never shows up. The freighter never shows up. Now, this game is built on the idea of trading and combat. And if one of those don't work, then this game is broken. And I hate to say it, but this game is broken. He never showed up. I found out later that my freighter was like 4 jumps away. Jump drives haven't been explained to me yet or how they work. I'm not even quite sure if the freighter was taking the main jump lanes or using this jump drive technology that has yet to be introduced to the player. I am aware that jump drives exist because I played past games, but if you're new to the franchise, you're going to be very, very confused. And the fact that I gave the order and he never showed, I'm not quite sure what to do at this point as a player, and I could search forum after forum, and I'm probably going to figure it out, or there'll be a patch. But this is an issue. This is a big issue for a game that is supposedly the rebirth of the X series, a franchise that I believed has been getting better and better with each iteration. This new rebirth, the new version of this series, which is a relaunch of the series, that's why it's not called X4, seems to be some giant step backwards for the franchise. They've made it simpler in some ways and far more complicated in others. So you'll find with the controller that the FPS, the first-person controls, are very, very sluggish. They are not quite up to par, and the controls in space are a little wonky. Like I said, there's no rotation for your ship. You can't actually roll your ship. So I will continue to play the game, and hopefully it gets better. This does have modding support, which has always been a strength of the X series, and I'm looking forward to seeing what modders can come up with to hopefully get it to the point it needs to be. But right now, X Rebirth is kind of a mess, especially in the first couple of hours. There's a lot of stuff. It's one of those games you really want to love. You want to play it. You want to love it. And you can see the graphic engine is fantastic. The highways are really, really nice. I mean, it's a great concept of flying down the highway and jumping through these little like highway sections of road, I guess you would call it, and drifting behind people to get more speed. It's a much more active way of traveling than the original X game, the original X series. But then you get into things like how the trading works, or how you have to go into menu after menu, and you can't just open a map, but your character actually like turn and look at this screen instead of just flying. That's one of the things that really irritates me. Instead of in the original X series, you could be flying along and you hit a button and the map opens up, and then you check, okay, I'm here, my assets are here, here, and here, my fighters are over there. Excellent. Hit the button, close it, and keep on about your business. In this one, you hit a button, your character has to take the time to look over to his right, open up this fancy menu that comes out of a console. It looks good, but it takes far too much time if I want to just at a glance, where are my ships? And then half the time I have to go through a menu or two to figure out where they are if they're not in the system. It is a giant pain in the ass, to be honest. Alright guys, well, that pretty much wraps up this first impressions of X Rebirth. I honestly recommend you don't buy it yet. You wait, you see how the patches go. I'll probably be doing more coverage of it as more patches come out and as the modding community starts getting a hold of it. But it is kind of the worst fears right now, at least in the first impressions of this, the worst fears of the community. There's a lot of good there that just, with the right patches, maybe they can make it work. As a fan, and I'm very slanted as an X series fan, I want this game to be awesome, but I feel like I'm crawling through barbed wire to make myself feel like it's awesome. Alright guys, well that wraps up this episode of TGN Test Run. Please, thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it and it gave you some information that you could use, maybe save a little money. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe here to TGN for more gaming goodness and more space sim coverage. I do a lot of space sim coverage, and as always, thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time.